I will present a complete recap of the events of seasons 1, 2, 3, and 4 of the series Stranger Things, ahead of the release of the 5th and final season. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell so you don't miss any new content. We begin with Season 1, which takes place in the town of Hawkins on November 6, 1983. After finishing a game of Dungeons & Dragons, friends Will, Mike, Dustin, and Lucas head home. While riding his bike alone, Will encounters a dark and terrifying creature on the road. He escapes into the shed behind his house, but then mysteriously disappears. After Will's disappearance, his mother Joyce insists that Police Chief Jim Hopper, a Vietnam War veteran who lost his daughter Sarah to cancer, take the case seriously. At the same time, Will's 3 friends go out searching for him and encounter a strange, bald girl with limited speech and a tattoo of the number 11 on her arm. They name her 11. Through the game board, 11 reveals that Will is trapped in a dark parallel dimension known as the Upside Down and is being hunted by a monster they call the Demogorgon, named after a creature from Dungeons & Dragons. Meanwhile, Nancy Wheeler attends a party with her friend Barb at Steve Harrington's house. As Nancy and Steve grow closer romantically, Barb is left alone by the pool, where she is suddenly abducted by the Demogorgon. We are introduced to Jonathan Byers, Will's older brother, who was photographing the area where Will disappeared. In one of the photos, he discovers a clear image of the Demogorgon. Joyce begins receiving strange phone calls filled with electrical interference, and the lights in her house flicker wildly. She becomes convinced that Will is trying to communicate with her. She sets up a wall of Christmas lights and alphabet letters through which Will sends her a message, "Run." Soon after, the Demogorgon emerges from the ceiling. The next day, authorities find a body believed to be Will's, but Joyce and 11 are convinced he is still alive. Hopper later discovers the body is fake, made of synthetic materials. Hopper breaks into Hawkins' lab and discovers an interdimensional gate. He also learns that 11 is actually Jane Ives, the daughter of Terry Ives, who was subjected to MK Ultra experiments under Dr. Martin Brenner. Terry was pregnant and believed she had miscarried, but Brenner abducted the child and raised her as a weapon, assigning her the number 11. When bullies try to force Mike off a cliff, 11 saves him using her telekinetic powers, breaking the bully's arms. Later, during a chase by Brenner's agents, 11 flips a van upside down. The group uses a sensory deprivation tank at the school to help 11 locate Will and Barb in the Upside Down. She confirms that Barb is dead. Nancy and Jonathan attempt to lure the Demogorgon into the Byers' house. Steve arrives, initially believing they are romantically involved, but ultimately joins the fight and attacks the creature with a baseball bat. At the school, 11 uses her powers to kill multiple lab agents. The Demogorgon attacks Dr. Brenner, who is presumed dead. 11 ultimately disintegrates the Demogorgon, but vanishes with it into the Upside Down. At the same time, Hopper and Joyce enter the Upside Down through the gate and find Will trapped in vine-like tendrils in the Hawkins library. They rescue him. 1 month later, on Christmas Eve 1983, life appears to have returned to normal. However, Will coughs up a strange slug and briefly sees the Upside Down again, signaling that the danger is not over. Season 2 takes place during Halloween 1984. The kids dress as the Ghostbusters. Mike tries to contact 11 every night using his radio, but she never responds. Nancy struggles with guilt over Barb's death, while Barb's parents hire conspiracy theorist Murray Bauman to pressure Hopper and uncover the truth. Joyce begins dating Bob Newby, a kind and supportive man. Dustin finds a small, 4-legged creature that loves candy and names it Dart. He later discovers that Dart is actually a baby Demogorgon, the same creature Will coughed up earlier. Will begins having visions of a massive shadow creature in the Upside Down, later named the Mind Flayer. 11 is revealed to be alive and living secretly in a cabin with Hopper, who has been protecting her. Dr. Sam Owens takes over Hawkins' lab. A new girl, Max, and her aggressive older stepbrother Billy move to Hawkins, creating tension, especially between Billy and Steve. Nancy and Jonathan investigate Barb's case and record a confession from Dr. Owens. Steve evolves into a protective, almost parental figure toward Dustin. The Mind Flayer possesses Will through a hive mind connection, forcing Joyce and Hopper to keep him extremely cold. Will draws pictures that form a map of tunnels beneath Hawkins. When the lab burns one of these tunnels, Will screams in pain, revealing his direct connection to the creatures. Angry at Hopper for hiding the truth about her mother, 11 runs away to Chicago, where she meets Carly, number 8, and a group of other escaped test subjects. She eventually leaves them and returns. Demodogs attack the lab, and Bob sacrifices himself to save everyone, dying brutally. 11 arrives just in time to kill the remaining creatures. The Mind Flayer is driven out of Will's body, and 11 closes the gate. The season ends at the snowball dance, where Mike and 11 share a kiss. However, Will still sees the Mind Flayer looming in the distance. Season 3 takes place in the summer of 1985, when the Starcourt Mall opens. Mike and 11 spend much of their time together, forcing Hopper to establish a 3 inches door-open rule. Will just wants to play Dungeons and Dragons, but his friends are now more interested in romantic relationships. Dustin returns from summer camp, claiming to have a girlfriend named Susie in Utah, whom no one believes exists. Steve works at an ice cream shop with his new friend Robin. Dustin intercepts a coded Russian message, and the group discovers that the Russians are attempting to open a new gate beneath the mall. Billy is involved in a car accident and becomes possessed by the Mind Flayer, helping it form a massive flesh monster using human bodies. Erica Sinclair helps the group sneak through the mall's ventilation system. The kids use fireworks to distract the monster, and 11 removes part of it from her leg, losing her powers in the process. Billy regains control long enough to sacrifice himself and save everyone. Hopper confronts a Russian assassin and attempts to shut down the gate. During the explosion, Hopper is believed to have died. The mall is closed, and the incident is covered up as a fire. The Byers family and 11 move to the West Coast. The season ends with 11 reading Hopper's emotional letter. In a post-credits scene, it is revealed that the Russians are holding an American prisoner and feeding Demogorgons to inmates. Season 4 takes place in the spring of 1986. Mike visits 11 and the Byers in California. 11, now powerless, is bullied by a girl named Angela, and the conflict ends with 11 severely injuring Angela using a roller skate. Joyce discovers that Hopper is alive in a Russian prison. She travels with Murray to rescue him, aided by a man named Enzo. Meanwhile, in Hawkins, the kids join the Helfer Club, led by Eddie Munson. Lucas tries to become popular through basketball, while Max struggles with grief over Billy's death. A student named Chrissy is brutally murdered by a new entity called Vecna. Eddie is framed for the crime and goes into hiding. The group discovers that Vecna is actually Henry Creel, also known as Number 1, the son of a family murdered in the 1950s. 11 had banished him to another dimension in 1979, where he aligned himself with the Mind Flayer. The Upside Down is revealed to be frozen in time on November 6, 1983. Vecna continues killing teenagers and targets Max, who narrowly escapes by listening to Kate Bush's song, Running Up That Hill. Hopper escapes prison and fights a Demogorgon. Max is later used as bait at the Creel house, while Eddie and Dustin distract Demobats in the Upside Down. Steve, Nancy, and Robin set Vecna's body on fire. 11 confronts Vecna mentally from a makeshift sensory tank inside a pizza shop. Jason, Chrissy's boyfriend, interrupts and destroys Max's Walkman, leading to Max's death. Vecna succeeds in opening 4 massive rifts across Hawkins. 11 revives Max, but she falls into a coma. Vecna survives, and ash from the Upside Down begins falling into Hawkins. In the final scene, the group stands on a hill watching the rifts spread throughout the town, marking the end of Season 4. That concludes today's video. If you enjoyed it, please like, subscribe, and activate the notification bell. See you in the next video.